Hi. So I think we're going to talk, I'd like to talk a little bit today about building your freezer stash. So I think the first thing you need to do is deciding your goals. So you probably fall into one of two categories. Either you plan on staying home, and so you'll be primarily breastfeeding, and you just need a bottle occasionally for your baby. You know, maybe you want to go out with a friend once a week or whatever, you need an occasional bottle. Or you're planning on returning back to work. Maybe you're planning on pumping at work, but you need a larger stash because when your child goes to daycare, you'll be away from them all day pumping. So in the first scenario, let's talk about that. If you are primarily breastfeeding, I'm not convinced that you need a huge freezer stash. If you want one, then you can do what you want to do, but I don't know that you need it. So if you're only going to have, your baby's only going to get a bottle, once a week, then maybe you only need to have 8 to 16 ounces of milk in a week. So when my baby was, 2 weeks old, he was taking 2 ounces per bottle. When he was 3 months old, he was taking 4 ounces per bottle, and now he's 7 months old, he's taking an 8-ounce bottle. So it depends on where your baby, is, but probably 8 to 16 ounces in the freezer so that your caregiver can grab a bottle out of there and give them if you're away. Then you don't feel like you have to, be back right on time to get to your baby. If you are going back to work, then I recommend that you have, well, what I think you should do is that you should have somewhere between, I'd say 48 to 70 ounces. That would be 2 days worth of milk if you didn't breastfeed at all. So most babies eat between 24 and 36 ounces of milk a day, depending on their age. And if you do somewhere between 48 and 72 ounces, technically would be 2 days if you don't breastfeed at all. And that will kind of get you over the hump of getting into daycare, right? Because you're going to be figuring stuff out at work. You're not going to be sure of nursing. You got to get your schedule. You get into a rhythm. And you do have to bring on the first day of daycare a full day's worth of milk, right? Like you have to bring all the bottles for that day. Now, it won't be the full 24 ounces because you'll probably nurse in the morning and then nurse in the evening. So that's kind of what I think you need in terms of quantity. Now, if you want more and you're looking at these freezer stashes where there's just hundreds of ounces, then do that. Do what you want to do. But I do want to caution you against oversupply because my first child was in the NICU and they told me to start pumping and I pumped. Mission accepted, right? And so by the time he was discharged at 3 weeks, I was producing over 45 ounces of milk a day. I had basically convinced my body that I was having twins, and it was really uncomfortable. I was exhausted. I was pumping all the time and breastfeeding all the time. So you don't want to go so crazy that you're uncomfortable all the time. Now with my second child, what I have decided to do is do 2 ounces a day, basically from the time he's 2 weeks old to the time he's 6 months old. That was my goal, was to put 2 ounces of milk in the freezer every day. And freezer stash ends up being like 300 ounces of milk. It's a lot, but it's just a little bit at a time. So at no point did I feel like I was just being overwhelmed because I had had that experience the first time around and I didn't want to repeat it. That was a bunny. So this is technically a video about breastfeeding, but the bunnies are playing in my yard. Anyway, so that's what I went ahead and did. So please subscribe for more delightful videos about breastfeeding, breast pumping, and building your freezer stash.